Hello, folks. Welcome back to episode 4 of this Intro to Flat Earth series. I appreciate you being here. As usual, a couple quick things to start things off, get things rolling. First of all, I did it again. I thought at first this was going to be a 3-part trilogy. Then we turned it into a 4-part because the other one got too long. And now we're making it a 5-part series because today's guest, we had just way too much awesome bonus content I wanted to throw in there. So that was a 5-part series. We're doing it on the fly here.
We'll do it live!
So you finally get to see this gentleman who has been a huge part of my journey through this rabbit hole. He's been in a bunch of the videos. You'll recognize him. His name is Cameron Thomason, and he's really awesome because he just asks all sorts of questions, makes all sorts of videos like I'm trying to do here, and it's been extremely helpful for my learning experience. So great to show him some love. I've been getting lots of messages from people saying that they're really fascinated by this whole rabbit hole I've been taking them through, and I want to just pass that love on to Cameron because he's the one that's been taking me through all this for the last several months. So you're going to love it. Something to keep in mind is this is actually the first episode I recorded out of all of these, before Flat Earth Dave, before Scott Dedels. So it's a little sporadic because I ask him some super beginner questions we've covered already, and we also get extremely deep at the same time. So it's all over the place, but you know how we do it here. You're gonna have to buckle up no matter what. So that never hurts to review some of that stuff. So yeah, enjoy the episode, guys. It's another huge one. It's getting into lots of deep topics. As always, make sure you use video for this one. It's got a lot of visual content, so I hope you enjoy, and I will see you in the next one.
We can't explain how things come to be, but we can observe reality and see that that's what things are. So the model of the universe that we've been given is a total lie, and it's to compartmentalize everything. You start to believe that we're a mistake, we're a product of evolution, and we just somehow happened to become human, and our lives mean nothing, and outside of Earth is nothing but a bunch of more rocks and things to collect. It's all material. So it takes away the beauty of being human. But if you believe in a flat earth model, you realize that we're the center of the universe and this is a perfect creation that was created for us. And that completely changes your perception of reality.
All right. Hello, friends. Thank you for coming back for another episode of the podcast. Appreciate you being here. We have our friend Cameron Thomason here today. This is a gentleman who I have been watching the Instagram reels of for a while, and it's funny to see how our friend circles have sort of collided. I know that you just hung out with Johnny and Dakota and Christian and all of them down in Sayulita. I got to hang out with them in Costa Rica. So really excited to just chat with you, Cameron. We got a lot of interesting topics to get into today.
Yeah, man, I'm excited.
So why don't we start with just a bit of backstory from you? So you mentioned earlier you grew up in Florida. Give me a bit of a summary on how you came into be to diving into all sorts of crazy rabbit holes like we all are doing on this podcast.
Yeah, so everyone at one point was calling me the Alex Jones of Gainesville. Gainesville, Florida is where I grew up. And that was because when all of that stuff happened with COVID, that's when I really started doing deep research. And I was the only guy telling everyone that it was garbage, that like no one was actually dying from this thing. And at the time you speak about that, you get censored heavily. But I was the only one going around saying, guys, there is no possible way that wearing a diaper on your face is going to protect you from something that is literally smaller than the weaving of the fabric itself. It's like shooting a BB gun through a chain link fence. Like the microns, they're so small of any sort of coronavirus or whatever that it passes right through the mask. And I was the only one saying that stuff. So I've kind of been outcasted for the past, 5 years, 6 years with the stuff that I've been talking about. Like I've even delved into the idea of eating raw meat, which is kind of being promoted now, but it's still pretty taboo. And you realize that literally everything, if you look into it enough, there's some degree of lying going on to keep us in this limited mindset, this limited way of thinking to where the people at top can profit off of us in every single facet of our lives. Like, we're always paying taxes. We're always eating all of this garbage with preservatives and all this BS sprayed on it. So it makes you sick. Well, you go to the hospital, they put you through all of these treatments that don't actually cure you, to where you're constantly paying bills on it until you die. And if you get cancer or something and you can't pay it off, oh, your children have to pay that off. So they just keep you in this like perpetual generational debt. And yeah, flat Earth, even though it's taboo, there are a lot of valid reasons that they would be lying about something like that, which we can definitely hop into.
When did you start questioning the shape of the Earth? How did that even come up on your radar? Is that sort of just always in the zeitgeist of the conspiracies? Because we've all heard about that, but we hear, of course, oh, those people are insane. You don't listen to those people; they're crazy. But is that pretty much what you heard first, and it just eventually worked into a place where you're just questioning so many things you thought, hey, might as well jump into it and see what I find?
Yeah, right. So 2020, I joined the army, and then I ended up leaving because of they were forcing the vaccine. And I was in Jacksonville, I think the beginning of 2021. I was scrolling through TikTok, and I saw this video of like a GoPro attached to a rocket, and it shoots up and just stops moving. And that's like, GoPro posted that. It's people estimated it was like 72 miles in the atmosphere, and it hits something and then just stops moving. And I was
I
like,
saw that one. The rocket is spinning super fast as it's going up. It's a private rocket, and it just clink. It just smashes into something and it stops spinning. And so it's like, huh? Like, well,
yeah.
what happened? Yeah, I've seen that.
Rockets don't have brakes. It literally stopped. All of that angular momentum from the rotation of the rocket and the linear momentum from flying up just stopped. No, it had to have hit something. What would it hit? If it hit a solid surface, the rocket would have been destroyed. And most likely the camera too, so we wouldn't have the footage, and obviously that's not the case.
One thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go.
Rockets don't have brakes. It literally stopped. All of that angular momentum from the rotation of the rocket and the linear momentum from flying up just stopped. No, it had to have hit something. What would it hit? If it hit a solid surface, the rocket would have been destroyed, and most likely the camera too, so we wouldn't have the footage, and obviously that's not the case.
Although we weren't able to shatter that highest, hardest glass ceiling this time, thanks to you, it's got about 18 million cracks in it.
Kicks and deals. It's a long fly ball going back, and the ball shatters the sky, bringing the ocean itself down into the stadium. Oh, Simpson just broke this dream's reality wide open.
I know we have still not shattered that highest and hardest glass ceiling, but someday someone will, and hopefully sooner than we might think right now.
There's no place to go.
Although we weren't able to shatter that highest, hardest glass ceiling this time, thanks to you, it's got about 18 million cracks in it. And it may be hard to see tonight, but we are all standing under a glass ceiling right now.
People figured out that we were an enclosed system. The more advanced we got, it would be the biggest thought on our minds. That's all we care about. You could make a wildlife reserve 1,000 miles square. All people, all human beings would do is just be knocking on the fence constantly, going, why is this fence here? Who built the fence? Why are we in here? And so on and so on.
So I saw that and I was like, what in the world? And then I just kept scrolling because you know how the algorithms feed you what you already fed into. So I just kept liking the videos and scrolling, and it was just everything was flat Earth. And I was like, what in the world? So I started watching like longer form videos. I started with like flight routes, how a lot of the emergency landings don't make sense. It's like, what was it? Yeah, I can't name any of them off the top of my head, but we could easily pull those up. It's where certain flight routes on a globe model, they'd be flying completely out of the way and all the way over to the other side of the globe to land. But then on a flat Earth map, it's like boom, boom, boom. It's like almost a straight shot, and it makes more sense.
These 5 flight paths prove that the Earth cannot be a globe. All right, this is Wellington to Mexico City, and it stops in Los Angeles. And here's exactly what that looks like on the globe model. Why not just go straight? It's actually shorter than going just to Los Angeles. Literally makes 0 sense. Here we have the flat Earth model, Wellington to Los Angeles, straight path, and then down to Mexico City. All right, Wellington to Lima, stops in Los Angeles. This is what it looks like on the globe. Again, goes all the way to Los Angeles and all the way down to Lima. Go check this yourself. You can literally look these flights up yourself. This is exactly what it does. Why wouldn't it just go straight across? Then we have the flat Earth map, Wellington to Los Angeles to Lima, Peru. Makes a little bit more sense, eh? All right, here's Sydney, Australia to Lima, Peru. Stops in Los Angeles. Sydney, all the way up to Los Angeles, all the way over to Lima. Why not just go straight across? Oh wait, it's because the globe is a lie. Sydney to Los Angeles, all the way to Lima, Peru. Then we have Buenos Aires to New Delhi, and it stops in Amsterdam. So Argentina, all the way up to Amsterdam, all the way over to India. Why not stop somewhere here? I don't get it. Oh wait, now I get it. Argentina stops in Amsterdam and all the way up to India. Science. And here's the last one, Auckland to Lima, Peru, and it stops in Los Angeles. Here we have Auckland, and then we have Lima, and we have Los Angeles. Just felt like wasting gas and time because that's what businesses do. Here we go. Auckland to Los Angeles, all the way to Lima, Peru. Let me just leave you with this. You know the United Nations, the people that control everything and lie to you, the 33rd degree Freemasons? This is their logo. This is a flat Earth map. There's also 33 sections in their logo, marking 33 degrees to Freemasonry because they're all high-ranking Freemasons that control humanity and lie about where we are and what the earthly plane is. And they laugh right in your face at all the peons that believe in the globe defying all laws of physics. Now, I always say the truth will set you free, and that couldn't be any more accurate. Believing their lies will keep you in slavery, will keep you in bondage. You need to look within for the real answer.
The United Nations logo is literally a flat Earth map. And for any long distance sea navigation, they use a GPS system that is based off of a flat Earth model. And then any architectural engineers use a flat Earth model. They don't account for curvature when building these railroad systems and these massive bridges and these huge highway systems. They don't account for curvature. But that doesn't make sense. You would have to account for curvature. If the Earth is curved 8 inches per mile squared, which means it's exponentially dropping each and every mile in every single direction, then obviously you would have to account for that if you were building some large railroad system or some highway. It doesn't make sense that people can't get it through their head. They're like, well, they're using this topographical display of the globe, but like they're just making all of these excuses. It's a flat Earth map. It's literally engineers use a flat Earth map. It's not a representation of the globe. It's literally a model of what we actually live on.
Anyone out there can find some really long line of sight that they know near their hometown or home city or whatever. I'm here in Washington State, so there's mountains everywhere, and you can use those to play this equation game. And one of the first things I did was, okay, let's try this equation out. I know some really long lines of sight. I did some research on Reddit, and I found some people in Vancouver taking pictures of Mount Rainier, which is way south. I forget exactly how many miles, and they can see it from Vancouver. So I just plugged that in a calculator, and wait a minute, it's supposed to be like a mile under past the curve, so you're not supposed to see it. So this is something that anyone can try and just start asking questions, because either that's a flat plane and there actually isn't a curve, or the Earth is way bigger than we were told. Either way, something's up here. Something's not right. Is there anything you would add to that? Any tests that you did that you saw and just start asking questions about it?
Right. So, I mean, just go to Blue Ridge, the Blue Ridge Mountains in North Carolina on a clear day, and you can see mountain ranges just as far as the eye can see. And no matter how high you go in elevation, put your face up to the window of an airplane, the horizon is always at your center field of view.
This is a ball. This is a bigger ball. The size of the ball makes no difference. The geometric principles remain the same. No matter where you stand on the ball, your horizon line will always be below eye level. This is a fundamental fact with no exceptions. On a ball, your horizon is a fixed point below eye level. It cannot rise. The higher you go, the farther you see. But the higher you go, the lower your horizon must be. And it can be demonstrated all day long. The math used to confirm the globe dimensions also confirms the expected horizon drop for Earth. So, when the math confirms what our common sense already tells us, and we see this at ground level, but we see this at 127,000 feet. Stay with me, people. This ain't rocket science. This is a flat, extended surface. So is this. And this. And this. And this. infinite flat plane versus globe Earth. Flat Earth is not a belief. It's an observation. No complex equations required to verify that it's real.
So here's the thing. The argument that the Earth could just be larger is also a complete fallacy because of the fact that if we did live on a sphere, even if you're 6 feet above sea level, the horizon would be slightly deviated below your center field of view because that's how a sphere works. It's always going down. And if your eyes can see 3-4 miles out, standing at 6 feet tall, then that would be slightly deviated. The horizon would be slightly deviated. So the only way, if we did live on a ball, that the horizon would look perfectly flat is if our eyes are literally at sea level, perfectly at sea level. So we lay down and put our eyes right up to the calm water, and then it would be perfectly flat. Otherwise, it would always be slightly deviated, and the higher you go, the further you have to look down. Well, certain commercial airliners fly at 37,000 feet altitude, and people are like, well, you do see curvature. Well, they actually started making the windows almost like a half sphere so that it creates this artificial curvature, like a fisheye lens. That's exactly what a fisheye lens does. It creates this artificial curvature, this like slight bending of the horizon, but you put your face up to the window and you can see that it's perfectly flat. And all you have to do is even take your iPhone, use a negative filter, take a picture, and you can actually see even further because the negative filter creates more definition. So you can see for hundreds of miles from the view of a commercial airliner, and it is perfectly flat. Everything's converging into one focal point in your center field of view, and that's the horizon.
I settled on near infrared, like some of these cameras can be converted to near infrared, you know? So then I started taking photos, and since I was doing a lot of flying, I started going up, and boom. I was actually amazed to see the incredible flatness that you get from high altitude. Everywhere I looked, there was like clues that the Earth is flat. And I was like, this is blowing my mind. Everywhere I looked, the Earth is flat. And NASA is lying about the curvature. So I said, something is eerily wrong over here, man. When I saw across the Gulf, right off the coast of Texas there in Louisiana, I was flying to Orlando, and I saw all the way out in the distance, and you could even see the rays of light at a different angle. That tripped me out. But if you really go up high, then you realize, oh my God, the Earth is extremely flat.
This would be impossible on a globe.
But if you really go up high, then you realize, oh my God, the Earth is extremely flat.
This would be impossible on a globe. There is no 8 inches per mile square.
Equation for curvature of 8 inches per mile squared has been debunked over and over again. The flat earthers with their P900s and their P1000 cameras are constantly seeing things way off beyond the supposed curvature of Earth.
In fact, many tests have been done with lasers, cameras, filming mountain ranges 300, 400, 500, 600, 700 miles into the horizon, which are visible and shouldn't be visible if we were living on a globe. This is how much distance he covered with his camera, and he could see from here the Rocky Mountains. There you go. There is no 8 inches per mile square.
Yeah, and you bring it back to that rocket video you mentioned earlier. All of these videos that are privately done without a fisheye lens, you never see a lick of curve. And the only time you see curve is when it's in like a NASA video or some big name company like the Red Bull video, which is one of the first things that I remember. I thought like, oh, I saw that Red Bull video, the guy jumping off, and it's totally curved, so of course it's curved. But that's just a fisheye lens. And when you actually watch that video back, and I can put the link to it in the show notes for people to watch, when he's falling down closer to the Earth, you can see it actually like the line of the horizon like convexes or concave the opposite direction. So you can clearly see it's just like wobbling, and that's not showing anything. So,
Right.
I mean, was that video something that you also pulled up when you were researching it? Because I feel like that's the one that most people think of when they think, oh, like we've seen from space before.
Right. Yeah. I've actually slowed down that video. I've reposted that multiple times to where I slow down the video and you can literally see that the Earth is like completely convex as he's spinning. So what? We live on a donut Earth now. It's constantly shape-shifting. Like, I don't understand how people can't get that through their heads. Or if some of these videos, like the Blue Origin, it's launching off at sea level, there's this huge artificial curve, which we don't see in reality. So then as they go higher, it looks more and more curved. Well, clearly it's being altered if there's curvature at sea level or at ground level. And I don't understand how people can't get that through their heads. It's simply because they don't want to question the narrative. They're literally afraid. All of the societal pressures, they don't want to be ridiculed. They don't want to be seen as a crazy person. So I think the biggest tool that the government uses is they want people to think purely through emotions. They don't want people to use logic. They don't want people to be strong and stand on their moral high grounds. They want people to be emotionally weak to where they can be led astray simply by guilt tripping. Like with the mask. They're like, well, you don't want your grandma to get sick, right? Which is an emotional argument. But then if you look at the facts, clearly wearing a mask doesn't do anything. In fact, it gives you bacterial pneumonia because you're breathing in your own toxins that your body's trying to excrete naturally. So,
Yeah, and I feel like that's the question that, or the comment rather, that people bring up after they move the goalpost enough times, and you just answer their questions. They say, "Oh, like, why would they do that? Why would they lie about this? You know, what did they gain?" And I think that you pretty much nailed it. There is that knowledge is power. They don't want people being powerful. We see this in all sorts of different areas that I dive into all sorts of them on the podcast, whether it be health or finance or otherwise. The people that are in charge of the game right now do not want an empowered population, because those people fight back and figure out they're getting screwed, and they blow it all up. So I think just this is why every single thing we look into, there's lies, like you said. It doesn't matter what aspect of the world is, which is why we see this trend of so many people building a whole brand off of just asking these questions and just diving into rabbit holes and figuring out where all these lies are, because they're everywhere. There's infinite lies that we can dig into now. And you mentioned how you were going through the TikTok reels and finding all this stuff. I've been going through it on Instagram too. It's really promising to me that it seems like the algorithms just can't keep up with all this anymore, because I would say there's definitely overlap in the people, quote unquote, who want people to be in the dark on this stuff. There's overlap between them and the big tech algorithms trying to stop people from figuring this stuff out, but there's just too much of it. Is that what you're seeing too? It's just overpowering the algorithms and everyone's figuring it out.
yeah. And the algorithms are getting more advanced. Like certain keywords, it'll automatically shadow ban the video. But you can get around things by asking questions, like vague questions, and showing imagery so people know what you're talking about. And that's what's allowed me to get so many views on a lot of my videos, is because I'm not directly saying anything to disprove the globe model. I'm just questioning the narrative and even using humor and saying it's satire to just kind of sugarcoat all of it. But anyone that actually watches it, it'll raise question in their head, so they're like, huh, what's he talking about? Let me look into this myself. And then they can go do their own research and figure things out for themselves. So there's definitely ways around it. And that's why a lot more information is kind of all out there. If you notice, all the stuff that's being promoted so heavily, they're not directly saying anything. They're not directly disproving the globe. They're just showing things. Or you can even do it through memes. But now I think the AI algorithm is even able to read memes, because I've had some things restricted or shadow banned just from a certain meme. So
Yeah, I've had that too on Twitter. And this is the thing that people need to keep in mind. Real quick, have you heard of Nostr before?
Of what?
Nostr, Nostr.
I don't think so.
That's something I'm extremely excited about. It's this decentralized social media protocol that is, in my opinion, the solution to all this stuff. There is no algorithm on there. It's a protocol like email instead of a platform. So I've been spending a lot of time pushing that. I'll throw you some videos on it. All of our mutual friends are on there. We got Johnny and Dakota and Christian and all the gang. It's super interesting, and I think that's going to be the next step. So I'm just throwing the ceiling out there for anyone that's not on there, but because the algorithms are always improving, and they're trying to fight back. People are in a battle with the algorithm, and there's ways, like you said, to fight them. But I think that once we don't have to fight them anymore, and we actually have a place where you aren't under the thumb of a CEO or a developer team or fact checkers, then things are going to just accelerate even more. So that's my prediction for the next 5 years. I think that that's going to happen, and we're going to have these solutions where people can actually have true free speech again. I think it's stupid that we've ever even been on these company-based platforms to be able to talk about stuff. And I think that's going to be the next step. So yeah, I'll throw you some links on that. I really want to see you on there. I think that that'd be a great place to post your videos, because I've been posting your videos on there and people like them. So I'll have to get you over there. Let's see. Man, there's so many directions we could go with this. There's lots of just pieces to this thing that I found quite interesting. And one of my favorite videos of yours was just looking at the sun. And I think that one of the ways I like to continue walking through this with people, just look at the individual pieces of the puzzle, because there's a lot of different pieces to it that all just get you to question. And for me, one of the videos I loved the most was just looking at the sun. And you post the video of people actually recording the sun with a Nikon P1000, which is, I believe that's the strongest lens that there is out there, because I keep seeing that in these videos. And they use it with a strong filter setup. They look at the sun, and it's just this perfectly spherical, glowing yellow ball. And when we look at the NASA version of it, it's like this fireball of death with like all these flares coming off of it and everything, like the Eye of Sauron looking deal.
Have you ever seen a real video of our sun, which is supposedly 93 million miles away, 109 times the diameter of planet Earth, and roughly 333,000 times the mass of Earth? Now tell me how we can calculate the mass of the sun if it's 93 million miles away. And did you know that NASA said this is a real image, but it's actually a conglomerate of CGI garbage compiled together based off of data that they've collected? They're just saying that it's not a real image, but they're trying to claim that it's a real image through a bunch of legalese. This is a real image of our sun. It doesn't look like a giant ball of gas and fire. It actually looks pretty local because it's being zoomed in on with a Nikon P1000. Now, I'm not really sure how a Nikon P1000 can zoom in on something that's 93 million miles away in such great detail.
Tell me how, is that one of the first things you saw? What were the different pieces that you started seeing when it comes to the moon and the sun and the stars that started bringing questions up for you?
Yeah, so especially if you live in a place with not too much, mountain coverage, relatively flat, like in Florida where I was discovering all this, and you're pretty close to the tropic or the equator. I was near the Tropic of Cancer. Um, you can quite literally like watch the movement of the sun moving overhead and then moving away. And especially if you're on the shore, you can see that the sun's actually it looks like it's getting smaller as it's moving away because it's simply just moving out of your line of sight and then it disappears. And then where the Nikon P1000 comes into play is you zoom in on the sun that literally has looked like it's set below the horizon and it's right there above the water, still shining bright. So all it really is after you reach a certain point where your eyes create that focal point, that artificial horizon, everything past that you can't see. Your eyes can only see so far, and the higher you go, the further you can see. But that doesn't mean that you're on a sphere and you can just see further down the sphere, because if you were on a sphere, you'd have to be exponentially looking further down, and that never happens.
Could you give us just a broad overview of what this flat Earth model actually looks like? I think that, well, actually, let me take that back. Let's start back with the globe model. I feel like this would be a good place where we could just sort of break down the numbers here that were being given by NASA. And what are the different spinning movements that are apparently going on? We'll start with that as our baseline, because to me, that was one of the things that started making me question, because they're just so many directional movements in this heliocentric model. It seems a little odd. So could you walk us through what are the different motions that are going on according to the globe model, and then we'll move on to what the flat Earth model says differently.
Okay, so to give pretext, astrology is based off of a flat Earth model. There's the 12 star constellations, and then the sun, you can tell which astrological age you're in from your high noon, when it's true high noon in your location, the stars behind it, that would be the age that we're in. And all of the planets, the sun and the moon, the 5 visible planets, and all the stars appear to be rotating around Polaris overhead. And we've always had the same 12 astrological signs. So keeping that in mind, it literally looks like the Earth is the center of the universe. But according to the heliocentric model, the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles per hour on its equator, and then orbiting around the sun at 66,600 miles per hour. And then our solar system...
That's not a joke, people. That's the actual number that we're given, 66600. That's what NASA specifically says. They're trolling us.
Yeah, it's a troll. Most of it can be broken down to 666. The numerology of the actual name of NASA, you can break the numerology down and it equals 666. But
and NASA translated in Hebrew also means to deceive. That's
exactly
literally what NASA in Hebrew means.
Yeah, pronounced Nasha. It means to deceive. So not only is the Earth spinning at 1,000 miles per hour and then moving around the sun at 66,600 miles per hour, but our solar system is moving through space at 500,000 miles per hour, and then the galaxy is moving through space at something millions of miles per hour. So 5 different directions at countless speeds. That means that we would never, ever, ever see the same stars again. But there's not even visual parallax. It's the same exact stars. If you look out at night at 8 p.m. and you look at a specific star, the very next night you go out there, that star will be in the exact same location as it was the night before. Like, literally every 24 hours, these stars make a full rotation overhead. And everything's slightly deviated, so that's how you have the sun entering different astrological signs over time. It's all a very slight deviation, like a super advanced clock. That's essentially what it is. And the fact that we have the same 12 star constellations that have never changed, that all rotate around Polaris, how can you say that we're moving in 5 different directions at countless speeds and we're not supposed to have the same 12 constellations, but we have always had the same 12 constellations? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, what does the historical record show? Has it been thousands of years we've seen the same constellations? Is that how much history we have?
Dating back to over 6,000 years. The Egyptians, the Mesopotamians, they were all documenting this stuff. The Mayans, I'm not sure how old the Mayan civilization truly is, but they said that they got all of their knowledge from a previous civilization that was more advanced, and the Egyptians said the same thing. Some people are speculating that the Egyptians, Babylonians, Mayans, Aztecs, they all got their knowledge from this one world civilization that existed. People say it's the Atlanteans, whatever. But there's a lot of evidence, which Graham Hancock talks about this, even though he's a glober. He still does talk about the fact that it has been proven that we all come from one advanced civilization, and that's why you have the same temples being built all over the world, and these people weren't even in communication with each other for thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah, and this is one of the crazy things I've been diving through. I don't know if you've looked into the Tartaria rabbit hole, but just this idea that there have been many cycles going on here of a very advanced civilization rising up, and then it's done. And we have all these questions why, and all these mysteries just left in its wake. And it's a weird thing to look into, because when you realize that this narrative we're told growing up that we are the most advanced we've ever been is nonsense, that really changes how you look at a lot of things. It changes how you look at our ancient past, our present, and our future, because we are just one of many of these different cycles. And I am in full agreement that after researching this enough, I believe that we are in a low point right now, and we were far more advanced before. And all people need to look at is the Egyptian pyramids. That's the only thing people need to see, and that's mainstream enough to where there are enough people talking about it. That should be all the proof you need. They just looked at those gigantic pillars that are showing up now under the pyramids. They're like a mile underground, and it's clear that they're an energy center.
You are literally not going to believe what they've just found underneath the Khafre, the middle pyramid in Giza. I can't believe it myself, but I'm going to show you. There was a press release yesterday in Italy from Filippo Biondi and Corrado Malanga. They have written a paper which has got all the results of their synthetic aperture radar Doppler tomography, which is a SAR radar scan. So basically using sound waves, I believe, they have scanned deep inside the middle pyramid and all underneath the structure. And then from the results, they are able to create like 3D models of what they think the sound waves are showing. And I can't talk, I'm so excited. So underneath the pyramid, they have found 8 huge cylindrical structures that are aligned perfectly in twos. And there's 4 pairs of them, and they go deep into the earth. So this is the 3D recreation of what the SAR scan shows. So you can see these 8 cylindrical pillars that go deep down, and then each pillar is surrounded by like a circular path or walkway or tube. Okay, this is not all. This is the beginning of it. Not only that, at the very base of the pyramid, like ground zero of the pyramid in the center, they have found 5 of these kind of stacked chambers, which are identical, look like they're kind of identical in size and form as the king's chamber of the Khufu pyramid, the one next door. So these are made with huge blocks of granite, red granite that was brought hundreds of miles away to the Giza plateau and stacked very specifically in this sort of horizontal sandwich with a convex, oh my gosh, what's the roof? The roof's on the wonk, there we are. A vaulted ceiling, I'm way too excited. So 5 of them, 5 of these chambers just chilling in the middle of the pyramid, and then 8 cylindrical, massive underground structures that go deep down. And what is under that? I'll show you. So So 4 of these cylindrical structures dropping deep down into the earth, they go into 2 square sort of chambers, 2 square empty spaces, which are 80 meters by 80 meters wall to wall. Each of these square chamber walls is 80 meters identically all the way around. Perfect square chambers with 4 cylindrical shafts going into them, or pillars, whatever they are, cylindrical structures with winding, coiled, maybe a walkway. We're not exactly sure. This is just what is showing up from the scans. Oh, and I'm sorry, did I tell you how deep these cylindrical tubes go under the pyramid? 648 meters. 648 meters under the main pyramid. And then you hit the 80-meter 2 chambers, and then this is a map of the whole of the Giza plateau. So in the center, wait, I'm going to move. This here is the chambers that are in the center pyramid. The cylindrical chambers going down to whatever's going on 648 meters down here. There is evidence that there are more structures that go on for 2 kilometers underneath the Giza plateau, all interconnecting underneath all 3 pyramids. And apparently there's going to be more press releases. This is just the beginning. The team are going to do some more press. This is so very exciting. One thing I will say is that the idea that the pyramid was just a tomb for a dead pharaoh, why would you need 648 meters of perfectly aligned north to south pillars that go into an antechamber that then connect to an underground network of stuff? It's a bit excessive, isn't it, just for a tomb?
And when you look into the Tartaria stuff, all of these different old buildings have those spires on the top, and the design of the place was clearly made to attract energy from the ether. So could you talk about that, the ether side of things? This is a little bit of a tangent in the Tartaria stuff, but I think this is an important piece of the puzzle here, is we're just figuring out how we got here, how we got told all these things. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so in order to get a real full in-depth explanation with like plenty of scientific backing, I would look into, it's called The Lost History of Flat Earth, Part 1 and 2. And it's by, what's his name? Awar Anon. I can't even pronounce his name. He was banned off of most platforms. But the flat out truth on Rumble has The Lost History of Flat Earth Part 1 and 2. He just reposted it, and it's a total of like 12 hours of content. So if you really want to delve into it, into like the actual science behind all of these metals being used and the geometry of these structures creating certain frequencies or channeling energy, it's all real stuff. And some of the proof in the pudding is that if you go into these churches and you look at all of these designs on the wall, well, they did this study where they went into a church and recorded the ambient sound of the church and then amplified that under a glass of water until the glass of water started vibrating. Well, the glass of water created the same geometric structures that are on the windows.
Amazing.
So it's there. Everything is light and sound resonating at a certain frequency, and that manifests different shapes, different geometric structures. And that's how astrology has any backing whatsoever, because look at an astrological map, like your horoscope, and it's talking about, this planet is in this house, and this planet is doing this, and this square that. And like, it looks like a bunch of nonsense if you're just reading the horoscope and like feeling all the emotions behind, since I'm an Aquarius on this day, I feel this way. Yeah, that's garbage. But there is scientific backing to this, because if you look at that, it's based off of a flat Earth model. It's like you're looking down on the Earth, and you have the 12 astrological signs, and then the 7 planets, which planet in Phoenician means wanderer. So it's the sun and the moon and the 5 visible planets that all clearly do not follow the same path as the stars. Sometimes they start going the other way, and they fucking make all these weird oscillations. So it is the sun and the moon and the 5 visible planets all in relation to each other, creating certain forms of sacred geometry in the heavens, which is generating certain energies and frequencies that influence what happens on Earth. So just because, you know, you have this planet in this house, it doesn't mean that your life is going to be garbage for the rest of your life. But it does have influence. So this is why people say that millionaires don't believe in astrology, but billionaires do. Billionaires use astrology. You know, the Romans only went to war when they had certain planets in alignment. The Egyptians were super heavy on that stuff. So there's truth to astrology, but on a globe model, it wouldn't even exist. It's a flat earth model that they use for astrology.
Did you know that astrology is actually based off of the geocentric model? Meaning the Earth is the center of the universe according to astrology. So if you read an astrological chart, what it's doing is showing you the position of the 7 celestial bodies, all in relation to each other, and their placement in the heavens in relation to the 12 astrological signs. So if you have all of these different planets, the 7 wandering bodies in the heavens, all in different positions in the sky, the sacred geometry that they create in relation to each other influences what happens on Earth. So this is why astrology actually has a scientific basis. But you can't believe in astrology if you believe in a globe model. Because logically, analytically speaking, if we live on a globe, these star constellations would constantly be changing, literally by the second. So we would never be able to read an astrological chart because astrology would not exist. And neither would any religion, because all religions are based off of the stars and the planets above. Above. Because all of the stars rotate around Polaris, and so do the sun and the moon and the 5 visible planets. So if you look at a clock, you'll realize that it has 12 sections. And if you look up at the sky, you'll realize that it has 12 sections as well. 12 zodiacs to be specific. And just like a clock, the stars rotate 15 degrees per hour. So in 24 hours, it makes a full 360. The sky literally is our clock, and we live within it. We live in a giant electromagnetic biomechanical realm. And we have been trapped in time and space via the confines of the physical body, so that we have to work for things in order to get them. This is all here for us to learn lessons, for us to realize that we can't just get whatever we want when we want it. Not in the physical world, at least. We have to learn how to be good people first. We have to learn how to do the right thing. So this creation is not some big mistake. We're not some giant spinning potato, spinning around upside down in outer space, zooming around the sun. It doesn't make any sense. We live in a perfect creation, and we are the center of the universe. The stars are not just giant balls of gas and fire in outer space, and the planets are not just giant balls of rock or giant balls of gas, but they are something much more special. All of the stars appear to rotate around Polaris, and all of the planets appear to rotate around Polaris as well. It is the zodiac, the wheel in the sky that keeps on turning and turning and turning and turning, non-stop, day after day, year after year, millennia after millennia. The same exact stars have been in the sky in recorded history for over 6,000 years, and they have not changed. There is no visual parallax, no visual difference in the stars. We see the exact same stars that we've seen for over 6,000 years, because they just keep turning and turning and turning. It is a circle. It is a cycle. Time is not linear, it is cyclic. The same things keep happening over and over and over until we learn the lessons that we need to learn in order to ascend. We keep reincarnating in this realm until we actually fulfill our soul journey so that we can ascend into the higher realms. Nikola Tesla knew this, that we don't live on a planet, but we live in an electromagnetic realm. Everything is electromagnetism. The zodiac would not exist if the Earth was a globe.
People like to prove the globe model with the model of an atom micro scale up to macro scale, the model of our solar systems and galaxies. Well, the same exact thing can be said for the flat Earth model. So every atom is a torus field. And look up the model of a torus field. Well, have you heard of RGB lighting in computers? Red, green, blue. Why is it red, green, blue? Well, if you shine white light through a prism and you were to slow it down, the high-powered, lens or whatever that can slow everything down to however many frames per second, you would see that red and blue appear first and simultaneously, and then green appears in the middle, and then all of the other colors of the rainbow appear. Well, the flat Earth model is that we live on the plane of inertia between two opposing forces, electricity and magnetism. Electricity is red, magnetism is blue. It's these two opposing forces spinning in opposite directions and creating this like harmonious swim. And that's what the yin and yang is. If you Google when two light photons become entangled, they create the yin and yang.
Can you take a wild guess as to what happens when two light photons become entangled? It's very, very interesting. It's the yin and yang symbol, a symbol that we've had for thousands upon thousands of years. How did the ancients know this? I decided to ask ChatGPT. When two photons become entangled, they are generated or interact in such a way that their quantum states become linked. Even if separated by vast distances, measuring one instantly affects the state of the other. For example, if one is found to be polarized vertically, the other will instantly be horizontal, depending on the nature of the entanglement. That expresses duality. Each photon has complementary properties. Unity. Together they are part of a greater whole. Yin and yang symbol, philosophical symbolism. The yin and yang symbol represents yin, black, feminine, dark, passive, internal. Yang, white, masculine, light, active, external. The dot of the opposite color in each half symbolizes that each contains the seed of the other. The circular swirl implies motion, balance, and unity. Wow. Now to explain how the yin and yang symbol is created when two photons become entangled. Their entanglement reflects the mutual interdependence of yin and yang, just as measuring one photon instantly determines the state of the other. Yin cannot exist without yang, and vice versa. The balance and symmetry of their entangled state mirrors the perfect balance of the yin and yang circle. Regardless of space, they have cosmic unity in a timeless dance of yin and yang. Imagine two photons spiraling out from a quantum event, one spinning left, one spinning right. Their polarizations are opposite but always in balance. If you trace their paths in a perfect circular symmetry, the image would echo the yin and yang, a swirling interplay of opposites, bound by invisible threads of harmony. So down to the atomic scale and even further, all the way up to the entire universe, is duality, the perfect balance of light and dark, good and evil. So, our Earth is quite literally the yin and yang, an electromagnetic torus field. We live in a universe of light and sound. Everything, literally everything, from the atom up to the universe is the same exact thing.
Sun and moon is the yin and yang rotating around the magnetic North Pole. The North Pole is a pole of electromagnetic energy, and above the North Pole is Polaris. The Earth is a giant electromagnetic field, and you are an electromagnetic field. You are the Earth in a miniature form, a miniature universe experiencing itself. The stars are astral lights which influence the material plane, rotating around us, generating a huge sky clock. The sun tells the time of day, the moon tells the time of month, and the stars tell the time of year. Everything in this reality has an intelligent purpose, including yourself.
The ancient cultures did believe that the Earth was flat and all of the celestial bodies are actually energies rotating overhead. And this is exactly why we have 7 chakras. Each chakra is governed by a different energy. 7 colors of the rainbow, 7 seals, 7 deadly sins that you must overcome in order to return to Godhead via Polaris.
So we live on the green electromagnetic plane of inertia between two opposing forces. Well, under the ground is lava, red. The sky is blue. You go up, the stars are all kinds of colors. But if you go up into the ionosphere, everything looks ultraviolet. So micro to macro, that still works for the flat Earth model, because the real model of an atom is a torus field. And our hearts also generate a torus field around us. It enters through the throat chakra and goes out through the root. And that's where the colors red and blue come from, because our throat chakra is associated with the color blue, and red is associated with the root chakra. So that's where you get red and blue with the torus field. And I believe it's the North Korean flag is the red and blue yin and yang, which represents physical reality. It's electricity and magnetism, and then around it you have the 4 earthly elements.
And one of the things I'd love to dig into here is you talk about the stars, how there's a lot of weird things with the stars. And when I was in Costa Rica recently with our mutual friend Johnny Canone, we were both just chilling back in these beach chairs looking out at the stars. And I think all of us remember this. We have this song, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, where the stars are twinkling all these different colors. And I don't even know what the explanation for that is from the NASA official narrative. But to me, it just makes sense that these are actually colorful luminaries. They're changing colors. And you posted a video. I was going through your whole Instagram reel collection last night. And one of the videos is that essentially they've done experiments where you have a vat of water and you have an air bubble in the middle, compressed into the middle of it, and you actually send sound waves through it and frequencies, and it creates a star.
So can you guys take a wild guess as to what actually happens when you trap an air bubble in a vat of water and pass a sound wave through it? It creates an artificial star. The bubble collapses upon itself and starts producing light. How could this be? How is this possible that we can produce a star from passing sound through water? So that must mean that the stars have to be something completely different than what we're told they are. They can't just be giant balls of gas and fire combusting in the empty vacuum of space. Nothing can combust in the empty vacuum of space. And if you say grateful and loving words into water and then freeze it in time, it actually produces beautiful geometric patterns. But if you freeze water after saying hate or I'm gonna kill you, it actually creates disgusting, distorted patterns. Because everything in the universe is light, sound, and frequency. The length of the sound wave produces a different frequency when passing through the light photons. Nikola Tesla knew a lot about this, and he understood that our universe is infinite energy. Do me a favor and just look up cymatics. You can produce stars through passing sound waves through light and water. Of course, I'm making all of this up. Of course, the stars are big balls of gas and fire combusting in outer space when you can't combust anything in the empty vacuum of space. And have you heard of the term as above, so below? Jellyfish communicate through light and sound frequency. That's what bioluminescence is. And fungi communicate to each other through light and sound frequencies. This isn't animated, this isn't made up, this is completely real. They use different resonant tunes to communicate with each other with light. Light, sound, vibration. Wow, that's insane. So the entire universe is made up of light and sound vibrating at a specific frequency.
And if you look at the stars, that's like literally what it is. And you can see them changing colors and shapes, especially in Hawaii. You can see the stars like crazy here. I'm in the middle of the jungle. In the city, not so much. But you can look at a star and literally watch it changing shapes with your naked eye and changing into all these different colors. But then NASA is like, oh, it's this big ball of burning gas and fire. But combustion is impossible in a vacuum because it needs to be constantly oxygenating, as in it's pulling the oxygen out of the atmosphere in order to combust. So if you're in an empty vacuum, how can it be oxygenating? That's impossible. So the model of the stars makes no sense. Clearly the stars are in some sort of liquid substance, and the Bible talks about it. The waters above, and in the beginning was the Word. Watching that star, watching that air bubble turn into a star is literally a manifestation of that saying, of that phrase. In the beginning was the Word. Well, words are sound. So sound passing through whatever that stuff is up there, and then causing this immense amount of pressure, and then light, heat and light forms. That's what it is. And we can't explain that. Like, we can't explain how things come to be, but we can observe reality and see that that's what things are. So the model of the universe that we've been given is a total lie, and it's to compartmentalize everything. So I didn't believe in astrology until I looked into flat Earth. So you start to believe that we're a mistake. We're a product of evolution, and we just somehow happened to become human, and our lives mean nothing. And outside of Earth is nothing but a bunch of more rocks and things to collect. It's all material. So it takes away the divine, the beauty of being human. But if you believe in a flat Earth model, you realize that we're the center of the universe, and this is a perfect creation that was created for us. And that completely changes your perception of reality. Your view of how valuable your life actually is. You want to start living life in a much different way than if you were just some guy spinning on a globe upside down, zipping through space. It makes no sense.
Yeah, and I can attest to that. The more that I learn about this and the more convinced I became, it really makes you think a lot more about these ideas that I grew up not believing. I don't know if I would say I was ever a strict atheist, but I was definitely agnostic, leaning toward that doesn't logically make sense to me, so I'm just going to block it out. But once you look at all of these pieces of this puzzle starting to come together, it just, how can this be random? You know, it's so bizarre. And you do a lot of videos on this too, just looking at the complexity of different wildlife, these different animals that have these amazing abilities to, like, bees are literally levitating. Their wings shouldn't even be able to hold them up. We have all these fish in the sea that light up and can light up the things that they see around. All these animals that work with frequencies together, just incredibly complex, amazing, beautiful things. And then not even to mention us, you know, all the different pieces of our bodies that work in a perfect way to heal and work with our environment. And I've had some pretty smart, pretty logically brained friends who would traditionally be, you know, like atheists, because, like, oh, like, logical people are supposed to be atheists. But you start to realize how, like, maybe it's the most illogical thing ever that this is based on evolution. Because how would we be created in such a perfect way that it seems like there would have to be a creator? And then when you look at the way that the flat Earth model moves around, where you literally have the sun and the moon perfectly spinning around in circles to create the yin and yang sign, that to me seems like tough evidence to turn down that this is a intentional creation. Would you add anything to that?
Yeah, 100%. Leonardo da Vinci said man is the measure of the universe. So if you discover yourself, like, the more you embark on self-discovery, the more you discover things about the world around you. And if you stand up and put your arms out, your head in relation to your torso and your four ligaments create a 5-point star. Your hands, you have 5 fingers. There's 4 earthly elements, right? But then there's the 5th, the magnetic field, which is the ether. And this was completely mumbo jumbo until recently, where people started discovering things about dark matter. You know, this unseen force that is holding everything together.
Did you know that Dmitri Mendeleev, the original creator of the periodic table of elements, originally intended for aether to be included in the table? In fact, before the dominance of the irrational world of quantum mechanics, aether theory was believed by the most brilliant scientists of all time, including Isaac Newton, Nikola Tesla, James Clerk Maxwell, and Sir William Crookes. According to these great minds, aether was an all-pervading medium through which light and other electromagnetic waves could propagate. It was envisioned as a medium that fills the vacuum of space, providing a substance through which light and other waves could travel. Aether theory portrayed the universe as a harmonious cosmic symphony. Contrast this with the seemingly dissonant cacophony of quantum theory, which presents a cold and meaningless chaotic universe. Is it possible that physicists were too quick to disregard aether theory and simply replaced it with terms like dark matter?
Cathodes, the ether energy. Antenna, amplifier, resonating moderator. You can see they had lamps. Let's enjoy together the beauty of ether gathering technology of the whole world. Cathedrals are not what they want us to believe. Ether is a gift from God to mankind. Unlimited free safe energy in harmony with nature.
We're star beings. We are from the stars. Human. Hue. Hue means color. So we're all different shades of the same thing. And, you know, that was a little bit esoteric, a little bit scattered, but I think you can get the point that, like, this clearly was not a mistake. We're not a product of evolution. And the missing link for evolution that pieces together, you know, the proof of evolution from apes into humans is a small little piece of a jaw fragment, and then they use a computer simulation to generate the rest, and they're like, yeah, this is it. This is it. No, it's not. It's a complete lie. It's a deliberate lie. You cannot prove evolution. And all of these ideas of dinosaurs and evolution, it all came about right around the first industrial and second industrial revolution happened. Well, those two industrial revolutions, I really believe, was a way to force us out of being in tune with nature and being in tune with the world around us and indoctrinating us and pushing all these ideologies upon us so that we can be slaves instead of free humans.
Yeah, just another one part of those cycles that we talked about earlier where the powers that be realize that people are becoming too empowered and they need to reset it somehow. And it's so weird to think about how we could use this knowledge to stop the cycles from happening. Do you think that there's a chance that this time, however many cycles in the past that there have been, it's hard to even tell, do you think that we could use this knowledge this time to not have to hit that reset button and actually continue ascending and reach a beautiful state where we can be in tune with nature and all these frequencies of the universe and be able to continue on that path? Or do you think that it's inevitable we just continue this rising and fall, boom and bust cycle?
Well, if you think about it, the world is always in perfect harmony. It is not all light, it is not all dark. It is in perfect harmony. It is a perfect balance, dance between light and dark. So there will always be evil and there will always be good. And that is the purpose of being here, is to have to learn lessons from hardship so that you can grow. So I certainly believe that there are things outside of this. Like, you have strong psychedelic trips. It's like you enter different worlds, different states of consciousness. But our soul, being trapped in the confines of space and time, being in this physical body, we are forced to move through time in a linear fashion and eat to survive and go through hardships, go through struggles. But that's the point of all of this. So there will always be bad. But I don't think it's going to get as bad as people think it inevitably will get. Like, people are like, oh, we're going to have World War III and everything's fucked and we're all done. If you perceive it to be that way, if you keep talking about how bad things are going to get and how everything's going to be terrible, then it probably will be. You know, these people in power, they have all of this power because we're giving it to them, because we're the economy. We're the one transferring all the goods. We're the one building everything. We're the ones tending to the fields. We are the people that control everything. There is a very small select people at the top that are acting like they're in charge and using all of this esoteric symbolism that's now being publicly shown, so that we think that they're using witchcraft and all this stuff to stay in power, and there's nothing we can do about it. Well, all we have to do is simply believe in ourselves and believe in our own power, and they lose everything. Like, money only has value because we give it value. All of these systems in place are only being enforced upon us because we are enforcing it upon ourselves. We are the ones enforcing things within the law enforcement, with all of these, corporate regulations and rules. We're listening and we're enforcing them because, we don't want to lose our job. So, and here's how the globe model plays into this. NASA is the biggest pusher of climate change. So they want to push carbon taxes and say that simply by breathing we're emitting too much carbon, so that we have to literally pay to breathe. And the earth is warming up at crazy rates, and the earth is going to catch on fire, and there's nowhere we can go, and there's nothing we can do about it, and the sea levels are rising. Well, that's all based off of a globe model. All of it. So if you get rid of that, then none of that makes any sense. And if you actually look into what's going on, look up Vibes of Cosmos on YouTube. This is a whole rabbit hole, but essentially just how the star constellations are shifting by 1 degree every 72 years, or 30 degrees every 2,160 years. He believes that we actually live in a greater realm, and our local magnetic North Pole is shifting with the stars by 30 degrees. So that means the Arctic Circle, not Antarctica, but the Arctic Circle containing all of our sea levels, is melting and shifting as well. So that would be the climate change. Like, yes, there is constant change going on, but it's not deadly. We're not going to die. The sea levels aren't going to rise. We actually live on a much bigger realm, and all of this shifting is happening, and more lands might even be revealed. And people are even relating that to somehow the moon is a reflection of this greater landmass, and we live in one corner of it. That's a whole rabbit hole.
I was going to bring that up because that is insane to me. And you've done videos on this. I've seen other people do it too, where you actually look at a detailed picture of the moon and all of those dark spots on it. You can superimpose the flat Earth map right onto the moon. It's on there. It's a reflection. That's insane.
And the Prague astronomical clock is actually depicting that. It's because if you look at it, all of the astrological symbols, well, some of them are like super crunched up, and then some of them are spread out. So, like, topographically, it's explaining that we have a local magnetic North Pole and our local sun and moon in a greater realm, and all of the stars are rotating overhead. So even if you go to our North Pole, Polaris is not directly above you, which you can't even go directly to our North Pole, but you can go to parts of Greenland, and Polaris is still deviated off. And if you go to Antarctica, suddenly the compass will start spinning out of control and then pointing the new north. The new north is actually south. So it starts connecting to a new North Pole. And our local magnetic pole is actually shifting somewhere near Siberia. And around 2,000 years ago, it was about a 30-degree difference. So our local magnetic pole is actually shifting with the star constellation, which is causing the sun and moon, which is interlocked from that local magnetic pole, to shift as well. And the sun's light only goes so far. And that's what heats everything up, what energizes everything, right? So if the sun and moon are shifting with our local magnetic north pole, which it's being proven that our local magnetic pole is actually shifting, well, that means that the ice wall would melt and then also transition with the sun and moon, which, you know, if you haven't looked into flat Earth at all, it won't even make any sense what I'm talking about.
Would you believe me if I told you that this is our known world and this is all of the land beyond Antarctica? And would you believe me if I told you that this is actually a map of the moon? And the moon is some sort of reflection being reflected off of our firmament, and it somehow shows the entire known world and then some. So the moon is literally a map of our known world, and it proves that there is more land beyond Antarctica. Vibes of Cosmos on YouTube accurately shows this, because he literally shows you all of the known world being mapped onto the moon and then land beyond Antarctica. He accurately maps cities, rivers, and even flight routes and the hours of the day on the moon. Have you heard of the black hole sun? Well, apparently there's a black hole sun in the center of the North Pole from which all light and life projects out of. So the light coming from the sun and the light coming from the moon is actually a projection being reflected off of our crystalline firmament and then concentrating in the ionosphere. And did you know that this is even depicted on the Prague astronomical clock? They have a clock in Prague that shows you the known world and more. It's an astrological clock. And what about the dark side of the moon? Maybe they're telling us something right in front of our faces, but this video was for entertainment purposes only. Have you ever wondered what actually causes climate change on planet Earth? Because according to the mainstream model, it's cow farts and CO2 emissions that are heating up the Earth's atmosphere because it's being trapped within the ozone layer or whatever. Even though Florida was supposed to be underwater in 2020, it never happened. So what even is climate change then? Well, if you saw my moon map video, you would see that the moon is actually a reflection of our realm, and it reveals land beyond Antarctica, and Antarctica is an oxymoron. It's actually the Arctic Circle. So our local sun and moon is trapped in relation to our local magnetic north pole. We have a local magnetic north and a true magnetic north, which is the very center of our larger realm. The local magnetic north pole is currently shifting near Siberia because we are now entering the age of Aquarius. And the magnetic pole shifts with the star constellations. The star constellations move by 30 degrees clockwise if you're looking overhead every 2,160 years. Well, our local magnetic pole is also doing that, and it's causing our local sun and moon to shift, which will cause the ice caps to melt and reveal new lands.
Yeah, and there's pieces in there that we didn't actually get to cover yet. So one of them is the ice wall, and for those who've seen the flat Earth model map, this is essentially the idea that Antarctica is the fact that it's a little block on the bottom of the globe is bullshit. It's actually this wall that goes all the way around this flat Earth, and there have been history and accounts of explorers far in the past who actually ventured past this area, and they reported on this. And so I think it was Admiral Byrd, is that the name? Do I remember that correctly?
Correct. Yep, Admiral Byrd.
Distinguished guest for this evening is Admiral Richard E. Byrd.
The North Pole used to be a no man's land, but these are the days when, by buying a ticket on a commercial airliner, you can fly across the North Pole and drink a cocktail at the same time. You know, only 30 or more years ago, about 35 years ago, our guest tonight found out whether there was any land north of the North American continent. He made that first discovery flight, and I must say that Admiral Byrd, our guest tonight, is not only our greatest living explorer, but he's been an inspiration to countless Americans. Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this Earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
That's a tremendous
So
challenge.
there's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom of the world. So I'm willing to say to you that there will be a number of expeditions that will follow, I think, year after year, at the bottom of the world, because the government has really become interested.
Well, Admiral Byrd, I can understand, I think everybody can, the interest in the North Pole because it's so near our greatest challenger, Soviet Russia, but why this interest in the bottom of the world? Nobody living down there, is there?
I tell you one reason they're interested. It's by far the most valuable, important place left in the world for science. That's why the scientific groups all over the nation are really interested. But more important than that, it has to do with the future of the nation, those to come after us, or even during your lifetime. Because it happens to be an untouched reservoir of natural resources. And, you know, as the world shrinks with an ever-increasing acceleration, far-flung places, once useless, like we thought the North Pole was, and no man's land, become very useful. The bottom of the world will be important, not only to us, but to our allies.
Admiral, you speak of the resources of Antarctica. What are they? What are the natural resources there?
Well, we've found enough of coal within 180 miles of the South Pole in a great ridge of mountains. It's not covered with snow, enough to supply the whole world for quite a while.
Well,
that's the coal. Now, there's evidence of many other minerals. We are pretty sure there's oil. Now, that coal shows the bottom of the world. Now, by far the coldest spot in the world. Where that coal is gets 100 below zero in the winter.
Well,
it was once tropical. So we think there's oil there, and there's evidence, probably uranium there.
Are there that many expeditions now there or en route there?
Well, you know, as I said, it's the most peaceful place in the world, but I don't think it will be for long because of this intense interest on the part of other nations and this nation.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how much of a psyop it was because he was still using the globe model, but he went on national television live and he was like, yeah, I ventured thousands of miles beyond the ice wall and there were lands, you know, like green open pastures and fresh water and wildlife, and it was just like all of this, so many resources outside of our known landmass beyond Antarctica. And you know what's weird about, they call it Antarctica. Well, ant, that means, you know, like the opposite of, right? They call it Antarctica. And one of the only islands you can explore on the very tip of the coast of it is called Deception Island. And Antarctica. So why do they call places the Arctic? Well, what is an arch? An arch is a dome. So the Arctic Circle would be at the end of our known world in this firmament, whatever we're in this closed environment. And we can't go beyond that. But then there's the whole thing with there might be more land outside of this. But can we actually venture beyond Antarctica? Who knows? Because no one can go within 200 miles of the Antarctic coast. 200 miles of the Antarctic coast. So it's weird how there's this one treaty that hasn't been broken, even with hundreds of wars in the last 70, 80 years, and that's the Antarctic Treaty. Every country has unanimously agreed, we're not going to break this treaty, and it's to protect the penguins, right? No one can get within 200 miles of the Antarctic coast. And yes, you can explore Antarctica, but it's under supervision of National Guard or military, someone in the higher ups. You have to pay tens of thousands of dollars to get there, and then you can only explore a very small part. So you can't actually just freely explore Antarctica like people say. And people ask, well, okay, if we're in this firmament and we're stuck here, then what's up with the sky being blue? Well, here's the thing. If you freeze oxygen, it literally looks blue. It looks like sky ice. And in Antarctica, they've been researching this, where they've been trying to collect this ice and trying to bring it back to the mainland, but they can't, because it immediately dissipates. As soon as it reaches room temperature, it dissipates. Because it's oxygen. Oxygen at room temperature, obviously, it's a gas. But if you freeze oxygen, it's like negative however many degrees, it actually creates a blue fluorescent color.
So even though we're not even allowed to venture within 200 miles of the Antarctic coast, there's scientists in Antarctica, deep within the heart of Antarctica, doing some research right now. And that research is very interesting because they're discovering something called sky ice, which is frozen oxygen. It has to get negative 360 degrees Fahrenheit to reach this state. Sky ice. I wonder why they call it that. Probably because it looks blue like the sky. But where are they getting this crystalline material from, deep in the heart of Antarctica? I would assume that they're getting this sky ice from the firmament, and they're calling it sky ice because they're extracting it from the firmament. Now, this is why none of us are allowed to venture to Antarctica, because we would discover the truth. And check this out. And above the firmament that was over their heads, this was the likeness of a throne, as the appearance of a sapphire stone. And upon the likeness of the throne was the likeness as the appearance of a man above it. So this is literally talking about the firmament above, and how the crystalline firmament is made of this sapphire stone. Well, pure oxygen, when frozen, becomes this sapphire stone. But it's just so powerful that when the scientists tried to transport it back to land, it would dissolve and dissipate into thin air.
So, yeah, I believe that whatever we're in, that's frozen oxygen that's creating that nice, pretty blue backdrop. But if we were in an open environment, an open atmosphere to where we could leave the atmosphere and we're on a globe, how would the sky look blue? Like the only reason that we have an atmosphere and we have this beautiful backdrop is because we're in a closed environment. And Bill Nye even said, we are in a closed environment and we cannot leave.
One thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go.
And if you look at all of these videos of rockets, they go in this arch trajectory and then go back down. It's clear that we can't leave. We have never left because every single video and picture of every single rocket actually in outer space, oh, it's CGI. It's computer generated. Well, if it's real, why can't they just record it?
I was watching a documentary on space and how our solar system was formed, and there's one thing I noticed about every piece of imagery that was being shown to me about our solar system. Now, I'm not going to say what that one thing is, that one similarity between all of these videos is, but I want to just hint it at you that this is a documentary, and it's supposed to be documenting what's actually happening in our natural world right in front of us. Now, isn't it just a little bit odd how all of these videos seem to be almost misrepresenting reality in a way? Because if I took my camera and I tried to record any of these said events, Would I be able to? That's really odd, how this one striking similarity between all of these videos seems to almost make them seem invalid. But of course I watched the documentary on how Mercury was striking into asteroids and it got too close to the sun so it's uninhabitable and all this stuff. And how Jupiter is this massive gas giant and asteroids just crash into it all the time. Yeah. Okay. I don't know anything about this subject, so I'm just going to ask my audience. Can you tell me why there are no real, unedited, raw photographs or videos of Earth from space? And there are no photos or videos of any of the other planets that are unedited or raw photographs. Also, there are thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of satellites rotating around our globe, but we cannot detect any of them on any of the spacewalks ever presented to us in the history of spacewalks. Now, can you tell me why that this is possible if there are thousands and thousands of satellites rotating around space, looking like they're all about to crash into each other? This doesn't even seem like it's a logistical thing to do. But of course, I'm being just a conspiracy theorist, and I'm just asking questions. Like, of course rockets are real, of course they actually go into space, even though all of the photos of rockets aren't actual photographs of rockets, they're pictures. Discern the difference between a picture and a photograph, because all of these are animations and pictures. But of course satellites and rockets are real. It's just that there's not a single photograph or image of Earth from space that's unedited.
Every single video of every planet and star and constellation, whatever that NASA shows us, in where you see the globes and the planets being these round rocks and gases, they're all CGI. It's 100% computer generated. And people just see these documentaries and these history book pictures, and they say, "Oh, look, there's a picture of the Earth right there." No, that's an artist concept. Like, what if we have been to space and all these things that they say are true? Why wouldn't they just share a real picture of it? Because it doesn't exist.
And you know that symbol, right? You know, the compass and square that the Freemasons use? Well, it's supposed to also represent, it's sacred geometry, is what it is. And the sigil of Saturn also depicts this. And Nikola Tesla's 369, it also explains the energetics of this. So we live in a giant Taurus field, right? We have Polaris, the sun and moon, and then apparently there's a black hole sun underneath. And that's what the Freemasonic compass and square is depicting, is literally the sacred geometry within our larger realm. And if you look up the sigil of Saturn in relation to Nikola Tesla's 369, it's talking about the mechanics of a Taurus field, how the unseen manifests into the seen from the geometry of the Taurus field. And that's like, I don't know enough about it to really explain it well. But just look into Nikola Tesla's 369, sigil of Saturn, and then look at the Freemasonic compass and square. Like, the Freemasonic compass and square is literally showing you in plain sight what we actually live on.
This Freemason decided to reveal to us something that's been hidden for a very long time. But the thing is, it's been right in front of our faces the whole time. Because all of this ancient knowledge has been passed down for thousands of years through symbolism. Polaris at the top, with the sun and the moon, in relation to the black sun, creates a very familiar symbol which we've all seen. That's right, the Freemasonic compass and square. It's showing the true cosmology of our realm in relation to Polaris, sun and the moon, and the black sun underneath. The black sun is almost like the pupil of our Earth, which all light and all life is projected through. And if you pay attention to the stars, they create an arch over us, because that's what they are. It is an arched dome, and the stars are energies in the heavens above. The stars are part of the layers of heaven. And the Freemasons know this. They understand what the true cosmology of this realm is. So in order to hide this knowledge from the masses, what do? They use advanced symbolism. And then they have all these exoteric Masonic teachings that are just a bunch of rubbish.
What is up, people? How are we all doing? Today, we're talking about the flat earth cosmology. So let's jump straight into this. So, we live in a torus field. Everything's made out of torus fields. And every torus field has motion. It's what it is. It's the motion of energy. And every torus field has a center, which is the black hole. It's a womb of creation. It's counter space. Now, this is why the North Pole is magnetic. Because the center of this torus field is the most magnetic part, the strongest part of the field. So this is why all compasses will point you to the center. And the Earth's magnetic field is spread across the whole of the Earth. And it's spinning, as you can see here, it's like a tornado at the center. And this tornado is the force which is spinning the sun and the moon around us. You got the sun, the moon, Polaris, just like in the Masonic cosmos here. Sun, the moon, Polaris, the all-seeing eye. Now we'll get into Polaris a bit later, but the sun is the magnetic force. Is the electric force. Because every field is electromagnetic. Now, the sun is electric. It's positively charged. It's gonna give you energy. It's feeding energy. The moon is more magnetic energy, which is taking your energy away from you. And this is why you become sleepy when the moon comes out. Because it's taking away your energy. So, these two forces is the balance, it's the yin and yang. It's the balance, everything in this creation is balanced. Because the torus field is the Earth is the plane of inertia, the 0 point within the field. Because physical matter is a result of two opposing forces equalized on the plane of inertia, and that is where matter crystallizes into physical results. And this physical plane is the plane of inertia, planet Earth. And at the center of this plane is the black hole, the womb of creation. And outside of this black hole gives birth to light. So the torus field is constantly rotating, going into counter space, the black hole, and then out of counter space gives birth to the white hole, white light. You see, so it's going around, black hole, birth again, black hole, birth again, and it just keeps going around. It's an infinite cycle of energy, and this is where the infinity sign comes from. This is the motion, this is the force which is creating everything to spin inside of this circle. Okay, and it's making the stars spin, it's making the sun and moon spin around us, around this center point. Now here you see Horus and Set putting their feet inside of this dome. This is the royal arch, the arch of the dome above us, which like you see in the Masonic cosmos, the royal arch of Freemasonry. This is the dome above us, the firmament that the Bible talks about. You see, they're putting their feet in because Set symbolizes the moon and Horus is the sun. Horizon, Horus. Horus is rising, the sun. So they're both putting their feet around this center magnetic pole, which is the pole, North Pole. And above the North Pole, you have Polaris, the pole of electromagnetic energy. You see? And this is how we get the sun and the seasons. Because the sun, for us, when it becomes summer, it's on the Tropic of Cancer. Then it spirals outwards, going out and out and out, then goes to the Tropic of Capricorn. That's winter for us. Then it comes back in and creates summer again. So it's constantly spiraling around this center magnetic North Pole. You see? So this roof above our heads is the firmament, and this is what they've taken off of us. They haven't physically taken it, but mentally they have taken this away from you. It's a female energy, and this is what the Egyptians called Nut, the sky god Nut. And this is the womb. We are inside God's creation, God's womb, and the woman's womb when she has a baby is a microcosm of this, because everything inside of this creation is micro, macro. It's a reflection of the bigger things, as above, so below. So the dome above our heads is the dome we are in when we are a baby, and you can see the sacred geometry of it is the exact same. It's the dome. And when we are inside of the womb, the woman, the sacred maker, which is the M, the Masonic M, this is the G male symbol. The Masonic M is maker, mason, matter, male. She delivers the male, you see? She delivers the male because it's the maker, the female, the magnetic. The woman is magnetic in nature, the male is electric in nature. So when we are in this womb, the female, we are being fed by the center umbilical cord, by the center of the mother's stomach. We're connected to the center of the woman's stomach, just like we are when we are in the earth. The center is where the aurora borealis is being emitted from, the electromagnetic aurora borealis, the northern lights. This is our spiritual umbilical cord, connecting us to counter space, connecting us to the realms beyond this world. Because at the center of every Taurus field is counter space. And at the center of the earth is our spiritual umbilical cord, and this is the earth's belly button, as you see. As above, so below. We had a physical umbilical cord, we have a spiritual umbilical cord, and this gets cut when we die, when we're cut away from the physical reality. You see, here's the ancient Egyptian tablet showing this female. You can see the hair, it's a female above us, because the female energy is nurturing, helping, looking after. And that's exactly what the dome is. It's protecting us. It's the Ark of the Covenant, the Ark covering us, you see? And this is what they've taken away from us. By you believing in space, it completely destroys the idea of this being a sacred creation. They've taken the roof off your head, whether if you believe in space, you believe that there's chaos, there's planets, there's asteroids that could kill us at any moment. But this isn't true. They've made you fear your own creation that you're inside of. They've made you fear what's above you. You see, and it's to hide the power of astrology, the power of the lights in the firmament, which are constantly flowing through the ether. These powers which are above us are sending rays down to the earth, which are influencing our psychology and how we behave. And this is what astrology is. It affects human consciousness. It interacts with our consciousness. And there's a different energy every day because the planets are in different houses, different alignments. And this is, we'll go into this a bit deeper later on. So the world tree, this magnetic North Pole, the pole of electromagnetic energy, was symbolized as a tree. The great tree at the center of the earth. You see? And this tree is symbolized everywhere. You can see here how the center person, this Egyptian person, is holding up the sky. This is the North Pole, the hyperboloid, at the center of every Taurus field. And this tree was in the Mayan cosmology. This is an ancient depiction. This is the Taurus field. There's the plane of inertia. Here's the center tree. Here's the tree in the center, the magnetic North Pole, the woman holding the stars. Is the Hindu with the two birds symbolizing the sun and the moon revolving around this center tree. The Mayan tree, his Horus and Set around the North Pole. They all knew this flat earth cosmology. They knew these secrets. It's so sacred you understand the creation that you're inside of. Because if you don't, you'll be led astray. You don't know where you are. You're lost. See? And here's the Masonic art. With the rays of the stars coming down with the tree in the center. So it was personified as a tree. And we are in Asgard, Midgard, the middle garden, where there's good and evil. So the 7 layers of heaven, which is talked about in the Quran. Each planet has a different layer of the firmament, and this is the 7 layers of heaven, and these are our 7 layers of the energy centers in our body. So we start in the stars, so we are stars in a physical body. And this is why we say Mr., sister, fraudster, sinister. Stir is star, and we are in the stars, and our star descends into the soul system, not solar system. And as we descend into the soul system, we enter Satan's kingdom, Satan's world. As it says in the Bible, Satan is the god of this world. Well, if you've been into my research for a while, you know Satan is Saturn. Saturn's world, because Saturn's the outermost ring. He's the Lord of the Rings. And you enter his kingdom, the kingdom of time, and this is why Saturn's the time god. As soon as you go past the rings of Saturn, you're now in the soul system, you're now in time, you're now bound by space and time. And you're bound to the earth plane, the heart. Earth is heart. It's a rearrangement, it's an anagram for heart. And the heart of the electromagnetic color spectrum is green, and that's why the earth is green. And above green is blue, and this is why the sky is blue. In order to go to heaven on the macro scale, you have to go through the blue sky, through the 7 layers of heaven. In order to reach heaven in your body, whilst you're here, you have to go through the blue chakra to your head, which is heaven. It's micro, macro. Everything is micro, macro inside of this creation. There's an ancient, I think this is a French image, piece of art from the ancient French, with obviously the 7 layers of heaven, which they all depict. And notice how it's like a dome. We'll go into this dome symbolization, the Royal Arch of Masonry, which is next. But these 7 layers of heaven give us the 7 metals, the 7 days of the week, the 7 diatonic tones, the 7 chakras, the 7 everything. It's God's favorite number. And this is why the Masons use the G inside of the compass, because the G is the 7th letter, and God starts with G. You see? So it's 7. God is 7. Here's another depiction of the heart, the soul system, the 7 layers of heaven. La firmamente. You see, la firmament, but the stars on the outermost layer. Here are the 7 planets: Jupiter, Mars, la Sophie, the sun, la Luna, the moon. So Saturn. So we are in the heart of this soul system. In order to ascend, we need to ascend up our chakra system, reach 144,000 hertz. God consciousness, the God man. You have to unfold God man, master of the mind, mastery of the mind. So, what are the stars? The stars make everything unique. The stars are constantly rotating around the center, magnetic North Pole, the tornado at the center, which is stirring everything. It's stirring the ether. The center is the ether, and the 4 elements are born out of this ether. There's 5 elements: ether, spirit, water, air, and earth. The ether gives birth to the 4 other physical elements, which the whole of creation are made out of. About them 4 elements. 4 is the number of stability. You know, a chair, a table has 4 legs. It stables things. It's a foundation, and these 4 elements are the foundation of this creation. You see, and this magnetic North Pole is stirring this, and the 4 vibrational states of the ether are the 4 elements. Now let me get back to the stars. I just wanted to give you that. The stars are being stirred around this center point, center. It's stirring everything, and they're always in different alignments. Every millisecond, they're moving in different placements of the stars. And the planets are called the 7 wanderers because they're not fixed. The stars are fixed, but the planets are called the 7 wanderers, the 7 layers of heaven, because they move faster and slower than each other. Each planet is slower and faster, has a different rate of speed it's moving. So these alignments are mixing in with the energies of the different 12 constellations. And this is why you have a unique characteristic. You have a unique look, a unique energy, a unique personality. This is because when you were born and you took your first breath, that energy which was in the ether, because the ether is all around you, and energy travels through the ether. The energy that the stars were casting down and the energy that the planets was mixing in with the 12 constellations was in the ether. So when you came out of the womb and your first breath, because breath is spirit, okay? So that first breath you took, that is the energy that is imprinted within your DNA, your soul. And you reflect that energy, you emit that energy. That's the energy that is with you forever. Until you die, till this physical body dies off. And that's what the stars are. The stars are giving a unique energy, characteristic, personality to every living thing. Every dog, every cat, every animal has a unique personality because it was born at a different time and place in the sky. Okay, the stars are your destiny. Now, the stars are constantly changing as well. If you look at stars through a telescope, they're constantly changing and forming different forms. You can see here, it looks like water. It looks like light through water because it's the ether above us, a sea of ether. And this light is being emitted through it, and it's just constantly changing, giving different energies, each star. So this is why this is what the zodiac is. It's the expression of energy. It's the expression of the stars. And each constellation has many different personality, different energies, different traits. Each planet has different traits, depending where your planets are, depending what energies you hold. No two person have the same energy. There's no one. It could be similar, but no one's the exact same. It's because of the stars. The stars are never in the exact same split place. The planets are always in different houses. So here's some Royal Arch symbolism. Here's the Royal Arch of Masonry, as it says here. The sun and the moon, the constellations. Here's Cancer, the 7 planets, the 7 stars. Here's the Royal Arch. This is the firmament. Here's the duality. Black and white, duality, good and evil, rest and motion. Dielectricity, magnetism. See? So this is what the Royal Arch is. It's symbolizing the cosmic dome above us. The womb we're in. We're inside God's womb. And here's George Washington, the Freemason, inside of the Royal Arch. You see? With the G, the Masonic G, God, 7. Here you see another depiction of George Washington with the stars in the dome above his head. His Polaris, the sky vault, Polaris. We'll get into that later. Go inside of all of your ancient churches, you will see the dome. Go to the Vatican, you'll see the dome. All of your ancient churches have this dome because it's the dome above your head. The ancients knew this. This was known. We did not live in space. It was known back then. They all knew. This is Crown Court, which is one of the most important courts in the UK. You can see it's clearly so much Masonic symbolism. You've got the 4 pillars of Masonry. The Royal Arch is like an arrow pointing upwards to Polaris. His Disney World is under a dome. In his Polaris, the sky vault. You see? And also 666 in the symbol. Here's more 7 layers of heaven. Here's an ancient depiction of the firmament. Here's the astral plane outside of the firmament. The Royal Arch. You see? It's everywhere. Here's Polaris, the 8-pointed star. Polaris is in between the sun and the moon. It's at the center of the Taurus field. And Polaris corresponds with the pineal gland as well because it's the all-seeing eye. See? So, here's Polaris, the 8-pointed star, which is at the very top. It's the very center. It's on top of the North Pole. And it's an 8-pointed star that's always symbolized as an 8-pointed star. Here you see the Vatican. The Vatican is a giant key with an 8-pointed star. See? It's a key. Here's the dome. Here's the Space Delta, the USA Space Delta logos. Here you see the Egyptian god looking from the center of the North Pole, looking upward. to an 8-pointed star, Polaris. An arrow pointing up to Polaris. Here's another, the bear holding a key with an arrow up to Polaris. 7 holds the key to Polaris. Here's an eagle holding a key above the North Pole to Polaris. Polaris, and here's another one. There's another bird, like a dragon, holding a key to Polaris. Because Polaris is definitely something to do with leaving this creation. Okay, maybe, I can't say for sure, but maybe it's to do with ascension, and this is why the Vatican hold the key to the 8-pointed star. And this is why the space, well, we all know space is a lie, but they're showing Polaris and its sacred symbology. Maybe it's to do with something leaving this creation, going to another. Here's some North Pole symbolism. As above, so below. See the four seasons of the Big Dipper constellation going around Polaris. This is Polaris, this is the Big Dipper constellation, and this is the swastika. This image gives us the swastika, because all the symbols we use are created in nature. They're created somehow in nature. This is how we get them. As above, so below. This is the map of the North Pole with the 4 rivers, looking like the Big Dipper constellation. It's the Masonic, here's the ancient cosmology with the 4, you see the 4 islands, Mayan cosmology, 4 islands. This is the alchemical symbol for Earth, 4 sections. The windows, because the center of the North Pole is a window to another dimension. The 4 lucky 4-leaf clover, which is supposed to be lucky. It's just, it's truth in plain sight. And here's Hitler looking at 2 flat Earth maps. So this swastika has been used for thousands of years, thousands and thousands of years. And it's symbolic for the most sacred land on this plane, the North Pole. Shambhala. Do some research on Shambhala, people. It's a it's a Hindu mythology about the sacred lands at the center of the earth, and it's known to be full of enlightened beings, and it's all symbolized at the center. You can see their paintings of Shambhala. It's all at the center, the North Pole, and it's known to be the most godly place ever, because it takes you to a portal to the higher places. And maybe this is something to do with Polaris, connecting you to this sacred land at the very center. But anyways, people, thank you all for tapping in. Hope you all learned something. Have an amazing day.